Montreal, the everyday and the extraordinary. The Elias Makos Show on CJAD 800.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Makos Show. Reminder, just about 15 minutes time at 11:20. Pierre Poilievre will join us, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. But we begin this third hour of the program by talking about signs. How important are signs to? When I say signs, I'm talking about those iconic Montreal signs. I'm thinking about Fed in 5 Roses, the Gibeau orange julep sign. Boy, do I love that sign when I'm driving down to Kerry, and also I want a delicious orange beverage. But, I think about all these signs in Montreal's history. And in particular, I'm thinking about the Hudson's Bay sign. The Bay has gone away. I know many of us wish that the Bay didn't go anywhere, but it has gone away. And if I think about that iconic location downtown, those Hudson's Bay signs, the Bay sign, when the Bay shut down, I was like, what's going to happen to those signs? Like, is that going to be saved? Sometimes some of these things that are part of our history, they end up in the garbage, for crying out loud. Well, not the case here with the Hudson's Bay storefront. Heritage Montreal and the Montreal Signs Project working together on this one to save a part of our history. It's a pleasure to welcome Dinu Bumbaru back onto the program, Director of Policy at Heritage Montreal. Hi, Dinu. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing
you? I'm doing great. Listen, first things first. How do you view signs? How important are signs for our history and legacy?
Signs are a bit like notes, like music. If you have too many, it becomes noise. And if you look at old postcards of St. Catherine, it was really too much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference.
It was
St. Catherine's.
It was cacophonic, if we want to use the sound reference.
What may be nice in Vegas should stay in Vegas, But somehow, some of them individually have a lot of, they generate a lot of habit. They are part of daily life because these are retails, these are commerce, and not only commercial. You remember the St. James United Church, next to, between Eaton, the Bay, a bit east of La Bay. It had a neon sign, a neo-Gothic. People would say neon Gothic somehow because of the sign. It was because they built a frontage of retail to pay for church repair in the 20s. They put that sign on. Well, that sign has been saved by the Montreal Signs Project.
Which I think is a reason why signs are important, right?
Yes.
Because they also represent the time that they came from, right?
Absolutely. And nowadays we have billboards.
Yeah.
That's an issue. I mean, you see some of the boroughs in Montreal. I mean, I think of the noble quest of Alex Norris in the plateau to stop.
I don't often hear noble quest in Alex Norris, but that's a whole other story.
Okay,
that's a whole other story. But yes, I get it.
A very strong commitment. Let's just use that, and to remove the big billboards on Park Avenue.
Yeah.
That used to be there sometime since the 1920s. In the age of automobile, but nowadays we have a different view of the urban landscape. But the big billboards are not necessarily what we're talking about here. We're talking of sometimes very crafty. The art of neon was not an art of printing on a sheet of plastic. It was actually, you had craftspeople that were actually shaping them and making them work, and flicker when they should.
It was an art. It's an art form, right? In many respects,
it's kind of craftsmanship.
But the other thing is how long a sign is up for. If the Bay was a store that was there for 5 years, no one would care.
You're right.
So let's talk about that. At what point does a sign become worth preserving?
That's a good question. There was a debate in the plateau about some of the signs from the 70s. And actually, the city of Montreal, the boroughs of Ville-Marie and Plateau have actually done a heritage survey of their signs, and it's following the debate about the Archambault music store.
Oh yeah,
you remember?
Right.
It's a beautiful sign, that was removed carelessly and reintroduced at the request of the Mr. Pelado. But these boroughs said, well, maybe we should address this a bit up front, and they did. They hired a good professional, and they did a good survey. And I think it's an interesting thing. Across the street from your studio, you've got the chimney of Molson's.
Yeah, I know.
Is that the sign? The clock?
Yeah.
The Molson clock is part of signage.
And you want to preserve that.
Yeah, and it's going to be. I mean, they found that. Now, the issue of age is one thing. I would say the shape and also the visibility. On Dominion Square or Dorchester, whatever you call it, there's the CN.
Yeah,
You remember
the
this?
yeah, of course.
The flicking,
Yeah,
sign.
and one of the great logos of Canadian design logos
You're
of
right.
the 20th century. Yeah.
Actually, it would be interesting that we. It's in many cities you've got that, a bit of a design museum. Montreal is a UNESCO city of design. It has a reputation around the world. Do you have a place where we have access to that heritage? There's a bit the MEM, the Centre des Mémoires Montréalaises, with the sign project that you mentioned with Matt Soar, and it's great.
It's incredible.
Fantastic, guys.
And listen, I just want to make sure we don't forget to tell the story here about this Bay sign and how it was saved. Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you take when the Bay announces we're shutting everything down, it's closing, downtown location closing. Is that where you and your colleagues, the light bulb goes off and says, "Hey, we need to act right now"?
Well, what happened is that there was the issue of the collapse of the Bay. We went through that story a while ago, 1999. One block away, Eaton. Yeah. And our great focus in those days at Eaton's was saving the 9th floor. And because it's up there, and it took, you remember, it took 25 years to bring it back.
And that's an Art Deco restaurant, right?
It's a spectacular asset, and not only did we succeed in saving the space, the architecture, but also the furniture and the fixture and so on that are also part of the Art Deco. So we look at the Bay and we say there was a public consultation just 2 years before about constructing a tower in the back, reactivating, restoring some of the interior of the Bay, because did you know there was a museum in there, an art gallery?
No, I just know that my mom would take me to the Bay on Saturdays so often growing up as a child.
I know, and you enjoyed the escalator.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Going the wrong floor for you, for kids. But anyway, there was the toy stores. But anyway, so we were concerned about the future of the building, because these are, and still today we are, but as the pressure grew up about removing the signs and saying, we say these are significant part of the urban landscape and the environment of Square Phillips and so on. People in Montreal in particular, it used to be Morgan's. Yeah. I know if you remember the logo of Morgan with its ribbony yellow.
This predates me, but I do know of the Morgans and the Morgan sign.
Things before you.
Yeah, I do.
Very, very worthy of you.
I try my best.
Yes. Don't forget, there's also the pyramids, before us. But and somehow the logo of the Bay, in the case of Montreal, is a bit the source of the logo Canada-wide, and also we have it in French in both languages. So it's an interesting story about it. So we realized this, and we had contact with Matt Soar of the Montreal Signs Project, but also we contacted our previous, not our nemesis, but sometimes Heritage Montreal and some of the developers, urban planners don't get along, but somehow we're Montrealers. Yeah. And we contacted Brian Fahey, was the consultant for the previous densification project, and we managed to contact the liquidator. And that was a very, very good discussion we had. They had very practical argument. How do we deal with this? The liquidation was
liquidator wants money, I imagine.
They want money, but they also want to settle things.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it was a clear discussion, and I think we have to give credit to those people as well. Matt Soar and the team of restorer that he's got together to help to remove the sign, but also to store them and repair them, is a great asset.
So where will the Bay signs? Because there's 4 saved. How many signs were saved here in this? A few, right?
There were the big one, the big Bay, and then there were some of the smaller letters next to the entrance. We couldn't sign. There were all over the building.
Of course.
Up there and so on. So
long term, they'll go into the Montreal Signs Project?
At Concordia, yes, and some will go at the MEM, the Musée des Centres des Mémoires Montréalaises, in Sherbrooke and not Sherbrooke, St. Lawrence and St. Catherine.
Which is a great spot.
They've got a good group of these. So, so it's quite a nice story. It doesn't put us asleep with respect to the future of the building, which is a big challenge. The size of it, what will happen. There's discussion about First Nation investment fund getting involved, which would be a nice return on history considering the Hudson's Bay story and the relationship with the First Nation. It would also be an opportunity perhaps for a museum or some place to explain things. I mean, there's plenty of room in that building. People have thought about the McCord moving, whatever.
Listen, I'm happy that, and again, you got to keep track of that whole site to preserve that history, but at least we've got these signs, and having worked in the same building that the Montreal Signs Project is housed, at the CJ building at the Loyola campus of Concordia, I just know how valuable the Montreal Signs Project is. I encourage everyone listening to spend an afternoon at the CJ building at the Loyola campus of Concordia.
CJ as in CJAD.
It's communications and journalism. But yes, like CJAD, where you can see all the signs that are housed there, and eventually the base sign will end up there. Dino, got to leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Dinu Bumbaru is Director of Policy at Heritage Montreal. When we come back, we're going to have Pierre Poilievre on the show, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. The parliamentary session has ended. We'll see what he has to say about how this session just went and where his party is standing right now. Let's do...
Close your eyes, and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on, and you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio.
86.
Time is valuable. Thanks for spending your morning with us. The Elias Makos Show on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Makos Show. Let's head over now to the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. It's our pleasure to welcome Pierre Poilievre back onto the program. Mr. Poilievre, Pierre, welcome back to the show.
Great to be back. Thanks for the invitation.
You know, listen, I was thinking about how I'll start the interview here, and I was thinking about, well, how would I characterize or how would I describe where you and your party are at now? I'll be honest, like words like, limbo and purgatory, it came up into my mind because it seems like your party's in a bit of a holding pattern here. Why don't I ask you this? How would you describe where you and your party are at right now?
I think we're fighting for the people who've been left out of the club. We're fighting for the young couple in Montreal who wants to start a family but can't afford a home. We're fighting for the parents who can't afford groceries and are lined up at food banks even though they both have jobs. We're fighting for the jobless who are struggling with this recession, the only recession in the G20. We're the only ones fighting for the people who are not part of the club of insiders and power brokers and lobbyists who are getting rich, making everyone else poor.
Why do you think we're in that situation? What's your take on, when you look at the G7, I know there's different ways to parse things out, but why do you think we're facing the situation we're facing and why there are so many Canadians that are in situations like you just outlined?
Because Mark Carney has, despite all the announcements and the gushing media praise, has continued with exactly the same policies of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. And he not only had kept the spending going, he's increased it. He's doubled the deficit that Justin Trudeau left behind. He is increasing the industrial carbon tax 6 times higher than Trudeau's. He's added 12 new government agencies. That all costs taxpayer money. And so where do those costs come from? They come out of your pocket. There's no free money. And so it happens with money printing that drives inflation, continued high taxes on energy, and a very weak dollar, which hurts your purchasing power. So, when you keep doing the same things, you get the same result. And Carney has brought nothing more than more costs, more crime, more corruption. He's just another Liberal.
No, but let me just ask you, because, he has been at least politically successful. And I know you referenced, gushing media coverage. But, I'll say this. I get messages all the time that I'm too tough on the Liberals, right? That I'm too tough on Mark Carney. I try and play things fair. And I criticize this government ad nauseum because I see some of the things that you've outlined here on direction of the country. But there's no denying he's been politically very successful. Do you just chalk it up to media coverage or something else going on?
I think he's created a beautiful illusion with the change in style and image from Justin Trudeau, but not any change in substance. It's exactly the same policies. Every anti-development law that has been keeping our resources in the ground, every one of them, C69, C48, they're still in place. Every single anti-development bureaucracy remains in place. As I said, the deficit is not only still there, it's twice the size of the one Trudeau left behind, $80 billion, which is, outside of COVID, the biggest deficit in Canadian history. We are the only G20 country in a recession right now. How is it that 19 other countries in the developed world avoided recession while he plunged us into one? You can't blame tariffs and the Iran war for something that didn't seem to cause a recession anywhere else. Our food price inflation is the highest in the G7, which has driven 100% more people to our food banks. So the challenge we have as conservatives is how do we make the reality of Mark Carney collide with the illusion of Mark Carney?
But is it fair to say he's also? I know you said it's been a lot of the same as the previous Trudeau version of the Liberals, but has he not successfully taken some conservative ideas? I'm thinking about dropping the tax on gasoline, at least temporarily, and some other things, crime bills and that kind of stuff, where you could sort of say, well, he's copied at least some of what your party had been promising.
Oh, in words, yes. Absolutely in words. And that's the illusion I talk about, right? But let's go through them one by one. So the carbon tax, he said he got rid of it. He just renamed it. He called it the Clean Fuel Standard. It's a little lower right now, but it's going to rise back up to the same level it was when Trudeau left office by the end of this term. Let's go with crime. He talks tough on crime, but he also introduced a bill which includes something called the Get Out of Jail Free Card, which allows judges to exempt serious offenders from mandatory jail time for things like rape, robbery, extortion, and other offenses. They'll now be able to get out even easier than they were under the old Trudeau-based laws. So has he copied our words? Yes, but he has not implemented them indeed. And the only thing that matters at the end of the day is the result. So I have a question for your listeners. Often they call in with questions for us. I have a question for you, Mr. and Mrs. Listener. How are your grocery prices after a year of Mark Carney? Has your mortgage payment come down after a year of Mark Carney? Is your paycheck really growing faster than your cost of living after a year of Mark Carney? Does he have a deal with the U.S. like he promised he would back in July of last year, via July of last year? Is Montreal safer today, freer of crime than it was a year ago? Those are questions I'd ask your listeners to reflect upon.
So Pierre, those questions taken, and I'm sure some listeners are asking those questions. One of the things that I come back to, is that I think, generally speaking, voters are actually really smart. And I hate when people look at, south of the border and say, oh, voters there are just dumb. And they look at Canadians, oh, voters are just dumb. I said, no, Canadians voters are actually smart. For some reason, the voters in this country, you call it illusions here, but they are buying whatever it is that Mark Carney is selling. So I wonder if you have an idea as to why. You look at the polling and, you look at some of those polls, the Liberal Party is doing quite well, nearing 50% in some polls of support. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think I already answered it. I do believe that Mr. Carney has created a wonderful illusion. And in the short run, perception is reality. In the long run, reality becomes perception. And the reality is that after a year and a half of Mark Carney, everything costs more. Our economy is in recession. Crime continues to rage on our streets. The deficit is doubled. So if you're looking at the objective results, everything is worse than it was a year ago. And at some point, Mr. Carney is going to have to be personally responsible for those costly results.
with Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Let me ask you about a couple of things, news items from this week. First things first, the housing bailout in British Columbia and this plan to rescue the condo market in BC and Vancouver specifically. What's your take on this plan from the government?
Well, just a quick recap how we got here. The liberal housing bubble inflated and made billions of dollars for some developers. Then the housing bubble burst, and now they're losing money. Mark Carney said, and I quote, that the developers don't want to take a loss. So he's come up with a plan to have someone else take that loss. You. He wants you to pay through your taxes to buy those condos above market price to bail out those developers, who, by the way, hosted massive fundraisers for him and his housing minister. And then he's going to take the overpriced the overpriced condos and sell them or rent them out at a loss to taxpayers. I think this is crazy. The free market is supposed to work by putting the cost at the feet of the person who made the decision. These developers decided they were going to cash in on a bubble. They knew that bubble could burst, and now they should pay the price for the losses that they helped bring about. I don't think the waitress, the welder, the barber, the small business owner should pay for the losses that he or she did not create. The losses should go to the developer, and the answer is just to let the price drop until such time as the condos are affordable for people to buy.
Just picking up on one thing you said there, are you saying there's a bit of quid pro quo here, like the developers funded campaigns and now they're getting a payoff here? Is that what you're saying when you talk about what's being done in BC?
Yes. There's the developers who are getting these bailouts held a major closed-door fundraiser for Mark Carney in February, and held a $25,000 per ticket fundraiser for his housing minister when that minister was the mayor of Vancouver. And they're the ones who are going to profit off of this. They're part of the club. And the club, frankly, is doing very well under the Carney Liberals. They're benefiting from government handouts, carve-outs, and bailouts, while you get taxes, debt, and inflation.
Last thing to touch on here, the plan to rehabilitate 24 Sussex Drive. There's going to be a design competition, and they're finally going to do it. And I say finally because lots of prime ministers have kicked this decision down the road. What's your take on what was announced this morning?
I haven't had a chance to take a look at it, and frankly, it's just not a priority for me. When I travel this country and I walk the streets, I meet young couples who can't afford a home. I meet seniors whose rent has gone up. They might have to lose their apartment. And I just think the last thing we should be worried about is 24 Sussex Drive. I just don't think it's a priority for the average Canadian. So I'll have a look at what Mr. Carney is proposing, and I won't attack it because I haven't had a chance to look at it. But it's not really on my radar as a priority right now.
Let me throw one thing at you that comes via text message as people are listening to us discuss. I have a listener who says that you're right now you're too full of doom and gloom. What do you say to that? Maybe that's to the voter, the listener that wants positivity.
Well, I'm very hopeful about our future. I think we can and should be the richest country anywhere on earth. We have the second biggest landmass, the longest oceanic coastline, the most resources per capita of any country in the world. And we have an extremely well-educated population and the best system of government the world has ever seen, the British parliamentary system. So I'm extremely optimistic about our hopeful potential. We need to have a government that will unlock and unblock that potential. But I firmly believe that with the right decisions, we can be the most affordable, the safest, the freest, and the most self-reliant nation anywhere on earth. I think that's a hopeful thing to look forward to.
Mr. Poilievre, I've got to leave it there. Pierre, thanks for your time today.
Great to be with you. Thanks very much.
Pierre Poilievre there, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Let's get you over to news.
Close your eyes, and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on, and you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio.
Missed something?
Subscribe to the Elias Makos Show podcast to catch up.
Available on iHeartRadio and wherever you get your podcasts.
In the wake of the deadly shooting in Côte-des-Neiges that we started the week here in this city with, where we saw a police officer and a citizen lose their life, gun control advocacy group PolySeSouvient, Poly Remembers, is urging the Carney government to halt sales of SKS rifles. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Close your eyes, and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on, and you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio. Breaking news. Considered. The Elias Makos Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
In the wake of the deadly shooting in Côte-des-Neiges that left police officer Mohamed Lamine Bedrouane and civilian Michel Mizrahi dead, gun control advocacy group PolySeSouvient is urging Prime Minister Mark Carney's government to immediately halt sales of SKS rifles. While authorities have not officially confirmed the firearm used in the attack, images from the scene appeared to show an SKS-style rifle, or news calls from the group to close what it describes as a major loophole in Canada's firearms regulations. Heidi Rathjen's with us from PolySeSouvient. Heidi, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about this loophole and why it exists today. It's not lost on me. I looked at, the statement that was sent out earlier in this week. This current government, which has been in power for quite some time, has had numerous occasions where they could get rid of weapons like this. They've chosen not to. Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know, of course. You'd have to ask the government, but from our perspective, the easiest guess is that we have a very powerful gun lobby in Canada. The SKS is a very popular weapon because it came into the country when it's some decades ago when it was extremely cheap. And so it's a controversial weapon that's both popular and used for hunting, even though it's a military weapon, and it's also a highly lethal weapon that is used in most mass shootings in Canada, and including shootings of police officers, especially when there's multiple casualties and injuries. And it's been, this gun has been on everybody's radar for a long time. Us calling for its ban is not new. But what we've been saying to the Carney government is that at the very least they can ban new sales so as not to make the problem worse. Because right now the phase of the buyback program, they're in the phase where they're paying gun owners for the guns, the prohibited weapons that were prohibited over the last few years, assault weapons. They're using taxpayer money, which would be a good investment, to get rid of assault weapons for the future safety of Canadians, for the future of our country. Is very expensive. But now we're in the situation where these gun owners who give in their prohibited weapons can turn around and buy a new assault weapon, the SKS. And the newer versions, they're even more powerful or ergonomic. They have all kinds of new features, and gun enthusiasts and experts call it a quasi AR-15, and so it defeats the purpose of the buyback and the ban on assault weapons if it's not comprehensive. As long as there are assault weapons available to buy, especially non-restricted. So there's very little controls on them.
Well, it doesn't seem.
Then why are we doing the big ban and the buyback and spending all that money? If so, at the very least, the government could ban new sales and then deal with what to do with existing weapons. And that's where we've said from the beginning that because they're so popular with certain indigenous communities, that you could have a grandfather clause for these communities. But why allow the problem to get worse? Why allow more of these weapons to come on the market and replace the assault weapons that has taken so many years, for everyone, including the government, to finally move on to get out of circulation.
Well, it's interesting here. It seems, I know it's for different reasons, but it seems like everyone agrees that the gun buyback program has been unsuccessful so far. But let me just ask you, because critics will say you can't ban your way out of what happened on Monday in Côte-des-Neiges. You can ban one type of weapon, one gun. People that do the types of things we saw on Monday, they'll find another way. They'll use another weapon. They'll get a gun from the United States that gets brought into the country illegally. So what do you say to that? Again, I'm putting my cards on the table. I hate guns. I've never owned a gun. I don't want a gun. I'm not a gun fan. But I say to myself, I don't know if you can ban your way out of what happened on Monday.
Well, is the response to make it easier for people to get assault weapons? Yes, there are different type of guns, but there's some guns that are designed to kill people rapidly and effectively. They're designed for military purposes. They're designed to create mass casualties. They're not reasonable for the legitimate purposes that we allow guns for, like hunting and target shooting. They surpass what the firepower surpasses what is reasonable for civilians. Are you saying that, well, because we can't stop every mass shooting and somebody will use a regular hunting gun instead, that we shouldn't make it harder to get the weapons that are most lethal? To me, if a law isn't perfect, it doesn't mean it's not effective. The goal is to make it harder, to minimize the chances that a highly powerful weapon fall into the wrong hands. And if you allow their open sale with a simple gun permit, they're not even restricted. This is the result.
No, and listen, your point is taken. I'm just looking at the fact that, there we have a government now. I don't know if there's ever been a government in Canadian history, this liberal government that's been around for 11 years, that's more open to your plight, to your cause. We have former members of your organization who are now in the government. And yet they still, so they're not listening.
I don't know if they're open. Politicians say things and then they don't do things. So to me, that's not being open. I don't think the government's on our side. It's taken 35 years after the Polytechnique tragedy, where we had 500,000 signatures on paper on a petition to ban assault weapons, and poll after poll, 80% of Canadians want to ban assault weapons. Mm-hmm. 36 years later, we still don't have it. The Liberal Party, since they came in power in 2015, have promised to get assault weapons out of our communities. It hasn't happened yet, 12 years later. The buyback program was, and the ban, the first prohibitions started in 2020. 6 years later, the guns are still out there. Mm-hmm. If you compare it to New Zealand after the the two massacres in Christchurch in 2019, took them 6 months, and they removed all assault weapons from circulation. Australia, after the 1996 Port Arthur mass shooting where 35 people were killed, took them 1 year, and they removed all semi-automatics from circulation. Mm-hmm. In Canada, 6 years later, what happens? The Carney government extends the amnesty, protecting these weapons that ensures that they remain in circulation for another year and a half at least. The government is not on our side. In terms of concrete action, we still haven't seen anything.
But in light of the fact, we have a Polytechnique survivor, Natalie Provost, who's part of the government. I imagine it's just incredibly disappointing.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for Nathalie. She doesn't. She's not the big boss, if I could say. I mean, I'm sure she's doing.
But
what
that
she
was
can
the
on
hope,
the
right?
inside.
Like, wasn't that the hope? Like the fact that the Liberals brought her on as a candidate, wasn't that the indication that they would be much more open to what you've been calling for over these decades?
Well, all I can say is that we are extremely disappointed with the performance of the government so far. Did you know that? You remember we had a huge battle over Bill C-21. It took years for that bill to get adopted. It got adopted in December 2023.
Yeah.
In that bill, the key measures that really were significant were those related to domestic violence. So about 1/3 of women that die, that are murdered, are killed with guns historically. Guns in the home make domestic violence much more lethal. You're 12 times more likely to have a death than an injury in the context of domestic violence if there's firearms involved. So the idea of removing firearms from domestic abusers is a no-brainer. It's the law in the United States that if you have a restraining order or any kind of protection order, you also aren't allowed to have a gun while the order is in force, right? That makes total sense. That is what we had to fight for. Women's Group had to fight for years, and we got it in Bill C-21. It passed 2.5 years ago. It's still not in effect. The Carney government, or the Carney Liberals promised in the election campaign that they will, complete all these measures, make sure they're implemented, and not drag their feet like what happened in the Trudeau government. They still haven't done it.
Heidi, I just listened.
Later.
I got to tell you something. Before you were on, we had Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, on. I know you're not a fan of their position on guns, so I'm not talking about that. But it's interesting. What you're saying is that the Carney Liberals have made promises, and then it never happens. And Pierre Poilievre was saying the same thing about economic issues and other things. Promises, no actual results. I have to leave it there, Heidi. Thank you so much for coming on. Come back soon, okay?
All right. Thanks for having me.
Heidi
Bye-bye.
Rathjen from PolySeSouvient. When we return, Joanne Vracus will join us in studio. We got to get to traffic.
Close your eyes, and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on. And you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio.
6.
Debate, interviews, and breaking news. The Elias Makos Show. News Talk Radio, CJAD.
Oh, get ready for your close-up. Get ready for your close-up, Joanne Vracus.
Yes.
Now, I had to do this a couple of weeks ago, and Alex and Jay Devine from CTV came in because we're redoing our promo that
Yes,
will
we
air on
are.
television.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks ago, I had to wear a nice suit jacket, and I had to look cool, and I had to pretend. And well, I wasn't, but they were filming me as I was hosting the show, and then we did some shots outside where there was some pretend.
Yeah.
On the outside.
See, now we're
shots.
pretending that we get along for the cameras so that it looks nice when this commercial airs on TV.
When they air this promo,
They're going to
you're
go,
gonna
those
look
two,
great.
those two Greeks love each other. Fun fact, Jay just asked me, he's like, weren't you wearing this dress in the last shoot? And I said, no, it was a different green dress from a different designer.
Now-
so if anyone's keeping track, these are different green dresses.
You brought up the dress.
Tell me.
So now I'm going to ask about it.
Yeah.
Is that the same dress
That?
that Melanie Joly wore when she was
Yes.
foreign affairs, and whenever she talked to the
Yes.
military, she'd
She's-
wear a green dress that looks very similar.
Fun fact, I am actually friendly with Melanie Joly
Yeah.
in real life. And we do not share the same tailor or designers. So no,
Okay.
it wasn't that. But yeah,
Because it's a nice dress.
I hope so. Jay? Jay's nodding. Okay, everyone's happy?
That works in the CJAD studio.
Yeah.
It would work on the front lines. It would work everywhere. Okay, Joanne, speaking of front lines, we got a big battle this weekend.
Tell me.
Canada versus South Africa, the World Cup of Soccer Football,
Yes.
FIFA.
Football.
Yes. You have World Cup fever right now?
My favorite thing happening right now in the world is the algorithm that I've fallen into that we didn't know that FIFA healed the United States. So what's happened is video after video of these tourists coming from everywhere, Europe, Africa, different countries in Africa, South America, and everyone, first of all, apparently they've discovered ranch dressing.
Yes.
And it has gone so cuckoo bonkers that the TSA had to say that it's a liquid, so they had to put it in their, no longer in the carry-ons.
Yeah.
And then they're saying that there's going to be a boom of South Korean and Mexican babies because there's some friendly chatter.
Because they've been playing together.
Well, I don't know what movement you just did with your hands there.
Coming together. It was the coming together movement.
Is it?
But listen, everyone said this World Cup was going to be a disaster. No one was going to show up. They're breaking attendance records, and you see these European tourists at gas stations.
Oh yeah, they discovered like Buc-ee's, and the Norwegians took over Times Square, and they're doing their rowing thing.
No.
And then the Americans posting about it are getting really emotional because they said they're calling it America's biggest sleepover.
Yeah.
They're saying that this is a sleepover with the cousins you never see because the parents hate each other. And it's just, and then the Americans are saying we're getting a bad rap in the world right now, but we are actually really friendly people. We are welcoming people.
Sports actually does bring people together.
The Algerian team is in this tiny town called Lawrence, Kansas.
Yes.
They didn't know which team they were going to get. They're all doing the dabka. They've learned Algerian songs. The schools are trying to learn Arabic. I mean, this is the United Nations right here.
I keep saying this, and last month was the first time visitors to the U.S. went up in 15 months. Canadian visitors to the U.S. I keep saying this. It's a friendly nation. Forget about what happens in the White House.
Yeah.
It's a friendly nation. Joanne,
Tell me.
You have 40 seconds to tell us what's on your show this weekend.
Well, we're talking about ticks. It's tick season. Dr. Christopher Buttle is going to be joining us with what you need to know to keep your family safe.
Olivia got a tick. We woke up on Tuesday. She had a tick.
Where were you? In the woods?
No, in our garden, backyard.
What did you do?
Well, so my son wakes up and he's like, look, he's in our bed and he's like, "C'est quoi ça?" And he points to Olivia's arm. She's like, "Oh, it's one of my beauty marks." And then she looks, it's a tick.
Oh my goodness.
So we'll be listening. But we're fine. We went to the doctor. We're fine.
Yeah. And then on a completely unrelated topic, it's gazpacho season.
Ooh.
So we're going to be learning how to make gazpacho. We're doing a food tour of the Laurentians with Dustin Gilman. And we're heading out to Hudson where there's a pet store that has a talking cockatoo.
I was going to say your show's hot, but gazpacho best served cool, cold. So have a cold time with Joanne this weekend. Joanne, thanks so much.
My dress is lovely, by the way.
It's a great dress. 6 to 9 Saturday and Sunday. Great radio with Joanne Varakis. We're going to wrap up the Elias Makos Show next.
Close your eyes and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on. And you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio.
No, I'm sorry, but I don't think there should be one. I think it would be... I think that the main message has to remain that Quebec is a French province and mainly French. And I say this with empathy and love for everybody whose first language is not French.
Leah Strelinsky not making fans this morning, saying that there should not be an English provincial election debate, sticking to just French. I know a lot of you love Leah on the Big Five, but you did not appreciate her take this morning. If you want to hear the full conversation and Raphael Melançon's take on the same subject, make sure you catch up on the Big Five. It's on the CJAD 800 website. It's on the iHeartRadio app. It's wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to the Big Five when you want. Maxime Cadotte producing this one. Jimmy G in for Jay Farrar behind the board. Fellas, thanks for all the great work. We have to leave it there for this Friday. Have a tremendous, amazing weekend. We'll catch you on Monday.
Close your eyes and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on. And you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Gives Canada the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio.